Imagine a house that was once filled with the sounds of a growing family, the laughter, the arguments, the shared meals. Now, there is only silence. A parent sits by the phone, waiting for a call that never comes. They wonder, how could they just forget everything I did for them? But in the world of psychology, children rarely forget out of simple malice or poor memory. Instead, what looks like forgetting is often a complex, survival-driven process of emotional detachment and narrative reconstruction. We often believe our memories are like high-fidelity recordings, but the truth is much more unsettling. Today, we are exploring the deep psychological layers of why children cut off contact and how the human mind reauthors its own history to survive the present. If you've ever felt the pain of a severed bond or wondered why some people can walk away from their past without looking back, this deep dive into the remembering self and attachment theory will change how you see human connections forever. Number 1. The tyranny of the remembering self. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman explains a crucial distinction. We have an experiencing self and a remembering self. The experiencing self lives through the moments, but the remembering self is the one that keeps score and makes decisions about the future. When a child forgets the positive aspects of their upbringing, it is often because the remembering self has composed a new story to make sense of current pain. This self doesn't care about the total duration of a happy childhood. It focuses on the peaks and the ends. If the end of the relationship was defined by conflict or betrayal, the remembering self may effectively delete or minimize years of previous care to maintain a coherent narrative of why distance is now necessary. Number 2. The dismissing armor. Much of this behavior is rooted in the first 3 years of life, when our brains are most malleable and attachment patterns are formed. According to the work of John Bowlby, children who experience dismissing or avoidant attachments learn early on that their needs will not be met with consistent attention. These children grow into adults who wall themselves off from feelings of dependency. To them, forgetting or cutting off a parent isn't an act of aggression. It is a defense mechanism used to modulate stress. By devaluing the relationship, they protect themselves from the potential pain of further rejection or disappointment. Number 3. The gap between words and behavior. A major reason for the forgetting is the realization of a massive gap between what a parent said and what they actually did. As children grow into the concrete operational and formal operational stages, they develop the ability to think logically and see through double standards. If a parent consistently promised loyalty but disappeared during inconvenient moments, the child's brain eventually prioritizes the behavioral pattern over the verbal promise. This realization can be so painful that the child eventually chooses distance as peace, rather than continuing to endure the emotional whiplash of inconsistent love. Number 4. Repression and the shadow self. Sigmund Freud and later Robert Greene emphasize the role of repression, the unconscious act of pushing unacceptable or painful thoughts out of awareness. If a childhood was marked by conditional approval or the trauma of a domineering parent, the child may repress these memories to function in daily life. However, these repressed feelings don't disappear. They form a shadow self. In moments of high stress, these dark emotions leak out, often manifesting as a sudden, intense need to withdraw and cut off the source of the original pain, the parent. Number 5. The evolutionary conflict of interest. Evolutionary psychology offers a colder biological perspective known as the parent-offspring conflict. While parents are related equally to all their children, a child is 100% related to themselves, but only 50% to their parents. This creates an inherent imbalance in how resources and attention are valued. If a child perceives that the parental investment is no longer promoting their own inclusive fitness, perhaps because the parent has become a source of stress rather than support, the biological drive to survive may override the social obligation to stay connected. Number 6. Familiar pain versus healthy freedom. Sometimes, a child remains in contact with a parent who hurts them because familiar pain feels safe. The mind is drawn to what it recognizes, even if that template includes neglect. However, once a child experiences a healthy environment elsewhere, the unfamiliarity of that health can trigger a massive shift. They realize they no longer have to perform to earn belonging. When they stop over-explaining and rationalizing the parent's behavior, they find the calm that comes from accuracy. At this point, the parent often feels forgotten. But for the child, they have finally aligned their life with reality. Understanding the psychology of why children distance themselves doesn't make the silence any less painful, but it does make it intelligible. Whether it is the remembering self, protecting its narrative, or an avoidant attachment schema acting as armor, the mind is always working to ensure its own survival. True power begins with clarity. As you move through your own relationships, stop asking, "What did they say?" and start watching the patterns. When we stop projecting our hopes onto people and see their behavior for what it actually is, the demon within us loses its grip. You learn to choose connection when it is mutual and distance when it is protective. If this exploration helped you understand the silent gaps in your own life, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the human mind. Remember, clarity is not just knowledge, it is the foundation of peace.